Moreover, the divine condescension yielded to the holy wish of Mary, our mistress, that, for the increase of her prudent humility, and for an example of her great virtues to mortals, the sacrament of the King should remain concealed, and, whenever it became necessary, partly to reveal it for the service of His Majesty and the welfare of the Church, the most holy Mary proceeded with such heavenly prudence that though she was the teacher, she never ceased to be the most humble disciple. In her infancy, she consulted the angels and followed their counsels. After the incarnate Word was born, she looked upon the only begotten as her teacher and example in all her actions. And at the close of His mysterious life and after His ascension into heaven, the great Queen of the universe obeyed the apostles, as we shall relate. This is one of the reasons why, in the Apocalypse, St. John the Evangelist disguised the mysteries of the Lady beneath such enigmatic words that they can be interpreted and applied just as well to the church militant as to the triumphant. The Most High resolved that the plenitude of the graces and virtues of the Princess Mary should, as it were, anticipate the time set for reaching the apex of her merits, and that they should extend to the most difficult and magnanimous undertakings as much as possible, even in her most tender years. In one of the visions in which the majesty of God manifested itself to her, He said, "My spouse and my dove, I love thee with an infinite love, and I desire of thee what is most pleasing in my eyes and the fulfillment of all my desires. Thou art not unaware, my daughter, of the hidden treasure which is contained in hardships and tribulations, so much dreaded by the blind ignorance of mortals, nor is it unknown to thee that my only begotten, when He shall clothe Himself in human nature, shall teach the way of the cross as well in words as in deeds, that He shall leave it as a heritage to my chosen ones, and that He shall choose it for Himself and establish upon it the law of grace, making humility and patience in suffering the foundation of the firmness and excellence of that law. For this is best suited to the present condition of human nature, and much more so after it has been depraved and evilly inclined by so many sins. It is also conformable to my equity and providence that the mortals should attain and merit for themselves the crown of glory through hardships and the cross, since my only begotten Son is to merit it by the same means in human flesh. Therefore, my spouse, thou wilt understand that having chosen thee by my right hand for my delight, and having enriched thee with my gifts, it would not be just that my grace should be idle in thy heart, nor that thy love should want its fruit, nor that thou shouldst be excluded from the inheritance of my elect. Hence I wish that thou dispose thyself for tribulations and sorrows for love of me." To this proposal of the Most High, the invincible Princess Mary answered with a more courageous heart than all the saints and martyrs have ever shown in the world. And she said, "Lord God and my highest King, all my faculties and their operations, and my being itself, which I have received of thy infinite bounty, I hold in readiness as a sacrifice to thy divine pleasure, wishing that it be fulfilled entirely according to the desires of thy infinite wisdom and goodness. And if thou give me any freedom of choice in regard to anything, I wish only to choose suffering unto death in love for thee. And I beseech thee, my only good, that thou make of thy slave a sacrifice and holocaust of suffering acceptable in thy eyes. I acknowledge, Lord, powerful and most liberal God, my debt, and that no creature owes to thee so great a return, nor are all of them together so much indebted to thee as I alone, who am so entirely unequal to the task of discharging this indebtedness to thy magnificence. But if thou wilt admit suffering as a sort of return, let all the sorrows and tribulations of death come over me. I will only ask for thy divine protection, and prostrate before the throne of thy infinite majesty. I supplicate thee not to forsake me, Remember, O my Lord, the faithful promise which thou hast made to our ancestors and prophets, that thou wilt favor the just, stand by those who are in tribulation, console the afflicted, be a protection and a defense to them in their tribulations. True are thy words, infallible and certain are thy promises. The heavens and the earth shall sooner fall to pieces than that thy words should ever fail. The malice of the creature cannot extinguish thy charity toward those that hope in thy mercy. Fulfill in me thy holy and perfect will. The Most High accepted this morning offering from his tender spouse and holy child Mary, and with a most benign countenance he said to her, Beautiful art thou in thy thoughts, daughter of the Prince, my dove, my beloved and chosen one. I accept thy desires as highly pleasing to me, and I wish that as a beginning of their fulfillment thou take notice that according to my divine ordainment, thy father Joachim must pass from this mortal to the eternal and immortal life. His death will happen shortly, and he will pass in peace and shall be placed among the saints in limbo to await the redemption of the human race. This announcement did not disturb the royal heart of the Princess of Heaven, the Blessed Mary. But as the love of children for their parents is a just debt of nature, and as in this most holy child this love had attained its highest perfection, the natural sorrow for the loss of her father Joachim could not be wanting, for she loved him with a holy love. The tender and sweet child therefore felt that this sorrowful compassion was perfectly compatible with the serenity of her magnanimous heart, and working in all things with grandeur, giving nature and grace each their due, she offered an ardent prayer for her father, Saint Joachim. She besought the Lord to give him grace to depend upon him as his powerful and true God in his transit through a blessed death, and asked him to defend Joachim against the demon, especially in that hour, preserve him for and constitute him among the number of the elect, since during his life he had confessed and magnified his admirable and holy name. And in order to oblige his majesty the more, the most faithful daughter offered to suffer all that the Lord might ordain.